Today we're going to be talking about hair theory. So we're going to be getting into some more technical aspects of what we learn here in cosmetology. Okay, the technical name for the study of hair is trichology. So where this comes into play, if I have hypertrichosis, I have too much hair. Okay, so what you'll see in cosmetology is you will see prefixes and suffixes that are then used to tell us what we're talking about. So hyper, too much, like your little brother is too much when he's running around the house jumping on the furniture. Trick is hair. So trichology, ology is study of, trick is hair. So you always break these down and that will tell you what we're talking about. There'll be things in cosmetology where we'll be talking about leukonychia, that's white spots of the hair, of the nails, and leukoderma, derm is skin, so white spots on the skin. So ology is always study of. Main purposes of hair are adornment and protection. So my dad was bald and he worked in construction. So I know protection for sure because he would come home and he had gashes in his head all the time from bumping into things because he didn't have any hair there to cushion. You know, I bump into something and I say, ow, and it hurts, but it doesn't split my skull, my skin open like it did on him. The other thing is he was out in the sun all day, every day, didn't wear a hat, and he was not protected from the sun. So at later in life, he was found to have precancerous lesions on his head, and they had to put medicine on there to take care of that. So he wasn't protected from bumps and bruises, and he wasn't protected from the sun. Adornment, it just simply makes us look better. That's all that means. Okay, only cells of the hair bulb are alive. The hair itself is not alive. If it was, when we would go to get a haircut, they'd have to give us anesthesia and knock us out to go get our hair cut. Okay, the hair bulb formation. So what they're saying is there's a primitive hair germ, and as it grows, it extends and it forms a pocket in the skin that becomes the hair follicle. So let me draw here. So here's our skin. Here's our hair follicle. Okay, here is our hair growing out of it. Okay, you'll see it has a larger area down here. This is called the hair bulb. Oh, there we go. And below that is an area called the papilla. Now the papilla is formed, it has all kinds of blood vessels and capillaries coming to it. So the blood is supplying the hair bulb with food, causing the hair to grow from there. Okay, these cells are alive in the bulb, but then they die as they move up. Now remember, hair is created of keratin. So when keratin is first created down here, it's very soft. As it moves up the hair strand, it hardens. But when we go to get our hair done, if we get our hair lightened, I go totally blonde. Remember, I have to keep the color, the lightener, up here and give this a head start. After it turns blonde, then I can apply the lightener down here. 2 reasons. Body heat makes this develop faster, and incomplete keratinization. That hair is not as hardened as it is further up. It's softer, therefore the lightener works more quickly. All right, attached to the hair follicle, this tube in our skin, is a sebaceous gland. Right, sebaceous, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll review this as we go along. A sebaceous gland, and it secretes sebum. Put that up here. So you can see they both start with SEB, sebum, sebaceous. The ordinary name for this is oil. So this is our oil gland. The oil comes out of here, flows up our follicle, and flows onto our skin or up our hair shaft, making our hair oily. First, it's just keeping it healthy, but then too much of that will make it oily. Right? There's also a muscle right here, and it's called the erector pili muscle. Erector pili. Okay, so when your follicles sit in your skin, these tubes, they're always at an angle. That's what causes your hair to want to part this way or this way. Everything's set at an angle. If you look at your arm hair, the hair goes this way. That follicle's set in there like this. So your follicle's like this, but then you get cold or you get scared, okay? And the muscle tightens up. So let me say it's going this way. And my erector pili muscle tightens up because I'm cold or scared, and it causes my follicle to stand erect. It's not slanted anymore, and that puckers up our skin, and we get goosebumps. So that's where that comes from, the erector pili muscle. So that's what gives you goosebumps. Let's see over here. Let's extend this out a little bit further, okay? If you remember, I talked about this in an earlier lesson. We have sebaceous gland, and over here we have the sudoriferous gland. Okay, take a good look at this. This does not look anything like this. And if you think about it, oil and sweat are two completely different things. What goofs people up though is this also starts with an S. Sudoriferous. The sudoriferous gland. Okay, this is where my sweat is coming out. This is where my oil is coming out. This also comes out and it starts mingling with the oil from my sebaceous gland. And when the two mix, I get an acid mantle. Okay, this is a protective layer on my skin and my hair that keeps bacteria out. Right, so we learned all that. Let me get rid of all this and draw one more time. Okay, so there's my hair bulb, the thick part at the bottom. Oops, that's not supposed to be there. I've got my papilla down here. I've got my sebaceous gland attached there. I've got my erector pili muscle. But what you need to know, remember I called this a hair bulb. If you think about this in terms of being outside, you've got grass, okay? And sometimes in the fall, you might plant a bulb. Looks very similar to that. And it's got roots coming out of it, just like we have capillaries coming out of our papilla down there. Okay, in the spring it starts to grow, and we end up with a beautiful flower. Now, the part that we can't see of the flower is the root. The part of the hair that we can't see is the hair root. This is all the root. Okay, this is called the hair fiber or shaft, hair shaft. This is the part we can see. Okay, so just like the flower and the bulb, we can't see the roots, we can't see the roots of the hair. All right, now let's see how much of it I already talked about. Okay, the shape of the follicle will determine the shape of the hair shaft as it grows from the follicle. So here you see a straighter follicle, and it's round. So, whoops, let me go back. So if you were looking down into the follicle, you'll see right there, it's simply round. Okay, in case you can't see that. Okay, so when you're looking down in the skin and you have straight hair. when it's bent like this a little bit, and when you look down in it, it looks more oval, you have wavy hair. And when you look at this one, it's very bent and it's almost flat, you have curly hair. Okay, so a couple things about this. So sometimes people, to remove excess hair, they go and get electrolysis done. And electrolysis uses a fine filament, if you think of it as like a fine needle, and it's a straight needle and it's attached to a machine with electricity. And you, as an electrologist, you are inserting that down into the follicle and you're trying to zap the papilla down here. You want to kill the papilla. If you are successful killing the papilla, the hair will not grow back. So I have a mustache I want to get rid of. I'm going to go and have treatments and they're going to zap each one of those hairs' papilla until it stops growing back. The curlier your hair, the harder time they're going to have with this. Okay, you can see it would be harder to get that down to the papilla the curlier it goes. The straighter the hair, the easier that's going to be. The other thing that I want to talk about is when people go through chemotherapy. If you've ever been around somebody that's gone through chemotherapy, and we'll just use an example that they had poker straight hair. I have a friend had coarse straight hair. She lost all of her hair due to her chemotherapy, and when it grew in extremely curly. Okay, and I've seen this happen over and over again in my career. And she looked adorable. She looked like a model because she has these little petite features and she had this super curly hair and it was really short and she just looked really, really cute. What happens is, I'm assuming here, is that the chemicals, the drugs that they're using are strong, we know that, and they're so strong they're actually affecting the shape of the follicle. And then what happens over time, when that happens to someone, is that gradually their hair will go back to what it was before. So her hair over a period of a couple years returned to stick straight and coarse, all right? Which I was sad to see her curls go because she looked so cute. But, so that's just an interesting little observation that I have come to that conclusion over the years, because it happens over and over and over again to people where it grows in curly, but then over time it reverts back to where it was. Okay, let me see. All right, so I already talked about this. You've got your hair root, you've got your hair fiber. Okay, and remember the other name for that is your hair shaft. The part we can see is the fiber or the shaft. The part we can't see is the hair root. The papilla, filled with capillaries that supply nourishment to cells around it. And the germinal matrix cells, those are in the bulb. And that is what ultimately produces our 3 layers of hair. All right, if you pull hair out from the roots, it will grow again unless the papilla is destroyed. So remember, if I'm trying to get rid of excess hair, I'm going to have electrolysis done, zap my papilla with electricity, kill it, and then no more hair will grow. Okay, 3 layers of hair, we've talked about this before. The cuticle, this is the outer covering. It's translucent. That means I can see through it. So if I have brown hair, the pigment that makes it brown is in the next layer, the cortex, and I can see through the cuticle and see that I have brown hair. It is there to protect. The scales open and close depending on chemicals that I put on it, and that is what allows us to get chemical treatments done. Cortex is where everything happens. Okay, this is where the pigment is, the elasticity, I mean everything. This is the main deal right here, is number 2. It's made up of keratin, the protein, excuse me. When you get your hair tinted, this is where it happens. When you get it relaxed, this is where it happens. When you get it permed, everything. And then the medulla, number 3, not present in everyone's hair, no known purpose. If you have fine hair like me, you don't have medulla. The only thing it does is it puts more substance in the middle, causing the diameter of the hair to get bigger. Therefore, you have medium or coarse hair, not fine hair anymore. Okay, your oil glands produce sebum to prevent skin and hair from becoming too dry. We already talked about this. Sebum is another name for oil, mixes with perspiration to form the acid mantle. Okay, the acid mantle is protecting, and the erector pili, again, causes goosebumps. Keratinization, we talked about that. The hair starts out, the keratin is brand new, it's alive. Down at the bulb, these cells are alive, they die, and as it grows, it dries out and it gets harder and harder and harder. Okay, it's all made of keratin, it's just different forms of keratin. All right, amino acids. So you start out with protofibrils. This word means original, the first one. All right, so you have these coils of amino acids. Then you put them together and you get microfibrils. Micro, small. So you have the original, they all coil around each other. You get micro, then a bunch of the microfibrils coil around each other, and now you get macro. Macro means big, micro, small. This forms the cortex, and all this twisting around each other is what gives the hair its elasticity. All right, anagen, catagen, and telogen. All right, so let me look here. Oh, and there was one thing I forgot to tell you in a previous slide. Let me read this to you. It says, what you eat does affect your hair. Here are the top 10 foods that nutritionists suggest that affect healthy hair. Salmon for shine, Greek yogurt because it's packed with protein, spinach to battle brittle hair, guava, tropical fruit to prevent breakage, iron fortified cereal to prevent loss, lean poultry for thickness, sweet potatoes to fight dull looking hair, cinnamon for circulation, eggs for growth, and oysters for fullness. So I can tell you right now, I'm never going to have shiny, full hair because I'm not going to eat salmon or oysters. The rest of it's good stuff. Okay, the stages of hair growth, anagen, catagen, telogen. The way I want you to remember this is ACT. Okay, so when you want to go to college, you might take the SATs or you might take the ACTs, ACT. So you have to remember it's in this order. Okay, you've got A, anagen. This is when the hair is growing. Hair will grow for 3 to 5 years on average. Okay, so we know that hair grows 1/2 inch per month. So if I take 1/2 inch times 12 months, I will get 6 inches. My hair should grow 6 inches in 1 year. Now that's assuming it's not breaking off at the other end. Right, so over 3 years, my hair will grow 18 inches. And over 5 years, it only goes so long. Okay, so it's going to grow 30 inches long. Okay, 18 inches, 30 inches, that's pretty good. Let me get my yardstick here. Okay, so I shave my head, and there's tons of videos on YouTube of people that shave their head and then take a picture every day for a year, and it's in fast motion. You can watch it over a year, over a couple minutes, grow back. It's really fun to watch. But if my hair grows, if I shave it off and it's growing out of here, in 1 year, it'll be down to here. In 3 years, from the top of my head, it's going to be down below my shoulder. And in 5 years, it's going to be pretty much to my waist. Now, some of you might be saying, my hair never grows that long. That's because this is the average, okay? So you have about 100,000 to 140,000 hairs on your head. So each one of them has a specified period of time that they grow, and then they fall out. So every single one of them is only going to grow so long. So let's suppose your hair only grows for 2 years. So I know lots of people that their hair gets to here and will never get any longer. And they get very frustrated. But genetically, their hair is saying, every time my hair grows for 2 years, it falls out and it's replaced by a new hair, and it grows for 2 years, and it falls out and it's replaced by new hair, and it grows for 2 years. It's never going to grow longer because that's just not in your genes. They say on average we get 12 completely new heads of hair in our lifetime. Every single one of those 100,000 hairs has fallen out and been replaced about 12 times. All right, now you see the people walking down the street and their hair is touching their ankles. Again, they're not average. So you can have people whose hair won't grow for 3 years, and you have people whose hair will grow for 10 years before the hair falls out. Okay, so you have extremes at both ends, but this is the average. You're going to get about 18 to 30 inches before it falls out. So that's active growing. Then you've got catagen. This stage is kind of like the hair just kind of goes, man, glad that's over, and just kind of hangs out and rests for a couple weeks, that's all. Okay, so it's transitional. No more cell division, no more growing. Then you get telogen, where it's resting and it's getting ready to be shed. Okay, this lasts about, let me see what this one says. They always say 3 to 5 months. This says 3 to 4 months that this one lasts. So you have about 90% of your hair at any given time is growing. Okay, then it's resting for a couple weeks, and then about 10 to 15% of your hair is in this stage where it's getting ready to, or it's falling out, it's shedding. And then the cycle starts all over again. Down at the bottom of the follicle, it starts a new hair bulb, and it starts a new hair. Now, if I say I have a hair growing somewhere and I pull it out, I say I got a mustache hair there, I don't want that anymore, and I pull it out. To get from here to here, where I actually see a new hair, takes about 16 weeks. So, really good example I was told was a lady came in and said she wanted to get electrolysis done. She said, I have one hair growing on my chin, and every day I have to pull it out, and the next day it's there again. They said, that's not possible. So they made her a deal. They said, if you don't touch your chin for 16 weeks, we'll give you electrolysis for free. When it was all said and done, she had like 70 hairs there. Okay, it was in one particular spot, it was growing. She thought it was the same hair over and over again, but it wasn't. So when you pull it out, whether you pull it out of your eyebrow, whatever, if you wax, it's going to take 16 weeks till it gets to the surface. The problem though is, say you go and get your legs waxed, okay? Who's to say that over here there isn't a hair that's looking like this, and you get it waxed today and tomorrow it pokes its head up? Okay, so that's why they say to wait until your hair is a certain length. You want to get as many of your hairs to the point where the wax will grab a hold of them, pull them out. If you do it too quickly, you'll keep having these hairs keep popping out because they're just under the surface and they're ready to pop out. All right, let's see here. All right, hair growth can be affected by illness, lack of vitamins and minerals, disease or medication. This is probably, this one and this one, whoops, are two of the biggies. Medication will do all kinds of things to your hair, as will illness and disease. All right, hair facts. Again, hair growth rate is 1/2 inch per month. All right, contrary to an old myth, hair does not grow after death of a human body. Okay, so I've done hair in funeral homes many times, and that's true. But what happens is the skin pulls back. The skin shrinks, therefore making it look like the hair grew. So in other words, after people pass away, pretty much everybody looks like they have a mustache or really bad eyebrows that haven't been tended to for a while. All right, hair never grows on our palms, soles of our feet, lips or eyelids. And eyebrows and eyelashes are replaced every 4 to 5 months. Okay? Okay, we were talking about eyebrows and eyelashes. So what I want to make sure that you know is, so here's my eyeball, here's my eyelash, or my eyebrow, my eyelashes. Okay. These are called cilia. Okay. We have cilia all through our body. We have cilia in our throats, in our noses. I think they're in our intestines. All this means is a short hair-like projection. Okay, so we have short hair-like projections that are called cilia right here, and then above them are supercilia. Okay, so think if something is super, it's better, it's higher. Okay, so you've got cilia and you've got supercilia, and these are replaced every 4 to 5 months. So we're going to be doing lash lifts in class.